In the beginning, I'd like to welcome you to new lectures that entitled with the characteristics of banking contract. As we mentioned in the previous lectures, we're talking about the first characteristics of banking contract, that entitled with banking contracts over the internet are contract forms, and we see with us that the contract form or typical is defined as contract prepared as a contract form whose terms are prepared by only of its parts, and this part doesn't accept the negotiation by the other party, who has only to accept the contract as it or to refuse it. Today we will study with us new characteristics, or the second characteristics of banking characteristics or banking contract characteristics, that titled with the banking contract are based on personal concentration. Personal concentration is one of the characteristics of the banking contract, is considered to be that the conclusion and the continuity of the banking contract are connected with the availability of the trust and the confidence in relationship between the bank and the customer. So, personal concentration in this meaning has a great importance for the bank. So, the bank is very careful before to start dealing with the customer, before contracting with the customer, especially in case the contract involve financial risks, about making sure and asserting of the factors that enable the customer to get one of the banking services provided by the bank in light of his credit competence, personal behaviors, and the other factors considered by the bank to be necessary for the customer. The bank doesn't contract unless it is asserting sure of these elements. So, in case this element are not provided by the customer, if there are any doubt about these factors, the relation between the bank and the customer will collapse. Although the personal concentration with this preceding concept distinguished the banking contract a long time ago. So this concept not new, but in the traditional dealing in banking contract, this concept are provided by the bank. So this concept also witnessed a development recently. This is because this concentration isn't limited to the competence connected with the financial ability, but it is evaluated in the light of behaviors of the customer and the extent of legitimacy of the source of his funds, in which he deals with the bank to avoid the crimes of money laundering that greatly spread as a result of the use of electronic means for performing the banking transaction. So, the meaning or the definition of personal concentration witness a development. So the bank has the right to asserting not just about the personal behaviors of the customer, but also the source of this fund, to asserting the legitimacy of this source before to accept dealing with the customer in this case. Also, the concept of personal consideration in respect of the customer's decision to deal with the bank, not another one, also developed. So the customer doesn't decide that in the light of the previous transactions of the bank and its trade fee only, but also in the light the banks depends on devices and programs of high efficiency, as well as the extent of its observance of the security concentration, especially in the light of the remote dealing over the internet. The personal concentration in the previous sense doesn't only affect the conclusion of the contract, but also its continuity. So this is because the continuity of the customer's relation with the bank hangs on the continuity of the confidence factors between them. In case this confidence is removed or there is an emergency affected it, such as customers' bankruptcy, insolvency, this online bank is entitled to suspend the dealing with the customer and to terminate its relation with the customer without the bank's liability for this termination. Also, the customer for the customer, the continuity of his dealing with the bank hangs on the continuity of the elements he paid attention to upon contracting with the bank. There being the credit competence is the condition of starting and also the condition for ending the bank's relationship with the customer. The importance of personal concentration in banking contracts in the previous sense results in some legal effects that must be observed when concluding this contract. The most important effects are that: 1. The bank must emphasize when advertising a banking services, even if this services is accompanied by the contract form, which governs its provision, that this isn't deemed to be an offer binding on the bank, and the contract isn't concluded as soon as the contractor, the customer, publicize his acceptance of these services with its condition stated in the contract, but it is an invitation of contract, just invitation for contracting, in order for the bank have a banking relation before asserting the contractor's personality and his credit competence. 2. Upon the dealing by the bank over the internet, it must care about contracting without authorities of electronic registration to undertake the function of making the bank recognize the customer's personality in the required way as for the extent of his legal and financial capacity in relation to this contracting. Also, this authority will make the contractor serene and sure for dealing with the true website bank. This makes him provide all the data required for contracting and sure of that he doesn't deal with fake website, ostensible website, or he doesn't deal with an online bank other than the one he wants. Thank you.